Welcome to another episode of MSR Travel with me, your host, Fred. We're going to dive into my trip to Cape Town, South Africa, and talk about how it came to be and a little bit about what we did. My fiance and myself are overdue for vacation. I mean, we're always overdue for vacation, but it was time to put the pen to pad and plan one out. We wanted to choose a place that was new to both of us and that the weather wasn't too extreme on either end, whether hot or cold. Now, we've already been putting money aside to plan for this trip, so we just need to choose a place and get to it. So we ended up bouncing a few places off the wall, and the one that stuck was Cape Town, South Africa. We had both never been there, of course, and it was somewhere we really wanted to go and get to Africa. That's amazing. Now that we have a destination, the first thing we like to do is look up things on each of our own to-do list. So things that I want to do that maybe she doesn't want to, and vice versa. And once we compile those together, we look at places that or activities that we both want to do. And that way we have a whole list of things that we can choose from in order to make our trip enjoyable. After that, we look at hotels and rental properties that are in proximity to the things that we want to do. So we choose places that are centrally located so that we don't have to spend all day commuting around or have to rent a car to do all of our activities when we can just walk around the city and see things based on where we're staying. Now that we have a location locked in, we can start looking at lodging. We choose lodging like hotels and rental properties based on the proximity to the activities that we're going to do for the trip. We want to choose a place that will allow us to keep from having to commute all day long in order to see the activities, but a place that also allows us to see the city and what it has to offer. We looked online to see that rideshare apps are going to be the best way for us to move around the city. So keep in mind, when you're out of the country, they have different rideshare apps, so make sure you download the appropriate app for the place you're going to. As far as packing goes, we looked up and seen that it was going to be low 70s and sunny, so sweaters and sunglasses for me. Now that we've landed in Cape Town, South Africa, it's time to get our luggage so we can grab a taxi and head to our rental property. While in the taxi, we took that time to speak to our driver and ask him about what to expect, what we should and shouldn't do, and also what's the best way to move around. After hearing our story, he offered his services to us and let us know that if we wanted to rent him out for the day, that it'd be a lot cheaper than renting a car, and we'd also have a local that would be able to tell us about where we're going, what we're doing, and translate to the locals for us. So we exchanged numbers on WhatsApp and let him know that we give him a call when we figured out what we wanted to do. One of the places that we discussed with him was Cape of Good Hope. He said he's very familiar with the place and that when we leave there, he would take us to a spot that he takes his mother all the time to get fish and chips. He says the best in South Africa. All right, now that we've planned, booked, flown, and arrived at our rental property, it's time to see what Cape Town's all about. We also left a couple days open so that we can just go out and see the city. One of the stops on our to-do list was the open air markets they have in Cape Town. We went to the Old Biscuit Mill. The Old Biscuit Mill has lots of local culture, arts and crafts. They have food, music, and stuff to buy, like your souvenirs and things like that. If you know me, then you know that I love nature. So going to Boulders Beach and seeing the Cape Penguin is something that we're absolutely going to have to do. When you walk down to the beach, you'll easily see about 100 or so of these Cape Penguins walking around. Something they don't warn you about, though, is the smell. These little guys do stink, but if you get away from that, you'll be okay. What adds this being a cool stop on your list is that these guys are on the endangered species list, so to be able to see them out roaming freely is something that you definitely should check out. Before saying goodbye to the penguins, there are gift shops there if you want to grab a keepsake from your trip there. The Victoria and Alfred waterfront. It's kind of like a mall area. If you want to go there, there's a carousel, there's food, there's outdoor performances, there's shops, and if you step outside of there a little bit, you can take a look at Table Bay. So we also stopped by Table Mountain. So we thought about hiking up to the top, but it takes like 5 hours, so we decided against that. And it's not necessarily a novice hike, but it is doable. So we took the cable car. Once you arrive at the top, it's just a free-for-all, walking around enjoying whatever nature has to offer. I would suggest bringing water or a snack just in case the gift shop up there doesn't have these things for you. We also went to a vineyard where we're able to sit out, have a couple of drinks, charcuterie board, and enjoy the beautiful scenery that the vineyard sits upon. In my opinion, no trip to Cape Town is complete without going to see Robben Island. Of course, we all know Robben Island is where Nelson Mandela was imprisoned. Once we left the ferry, we were greeted by our tour guide. Our tour guide happened to be a man that was imprisoned on the island at the same time as Nelson Mandela. So he was able to give us a very deep insight what it was like for him, other inmates, as well as Nelson Mandela. While on the tour, you'll be taken on the day-to-day routine for all the inmates. You'll be able to see different cell blocks and the actual cell that Nelson Mandela was imprisoned in. We stopped by Cape of Good Hope. Cape of Good Hope is the most southwestern point of the African continent. While up there at the lighthouse, you're able to look in the direction of like Sydney, Australia, Berlin, Paris, New York, and a couple other places. It's a very cool spot to check out. Very windy, but it's a cool spot to check out. Our driver also took us to Cape Point. Cape Point offers very scenic views of the mountains and the ocean. It's a really nice drive, and I would definitely recommend that as well. After visiting Cape of Good Hope and Cape Point, our driver took us to what he considered the best fish and chips in all of Cape Town, or anywhere he's traveled, he said. Okay, so I'm not a big seafood guy by any means, but the place he took us to where we had hike fish was absolutely amazing. Travel tip for this one is plan for the unexpected. So even though our trip started out, it's supposed to have been 6 of us, just went down to me and my fiance, it still worked out fabulous. Since we factored in the possibility of things not going as planned, we were able to make sure that the trip still went as planned. So because of this, there were no financial setbacks, nor were there any activities that had to change because people didn't show up. So it actually worked out great for us in the end. So that was my experience in Cape Town, South Africa. We had an amazing time. So I would add that to your list of places to travel and make sure you check it out. Thanks for watching MSR Travels. I'm your host, Fred. Please remember to go out and like and subscribe. Stay tuned for the next episode where we'll dive into another trip.